Good afternoon. So once the gentleman takes their seats, we'll get started. So welcome to the 2017 Miami Book Fair. My name's Kathy Maloof. I'm the Vice Provost of Student Affairs here at Miami-Dade College. It's my pleasure to welcome you. So you know the Miami Book Fair does not just end tomorrow. We have a lot of continued activities, programs, and events through Miami to keep supporting books in Miami-Dade County. So first I'd like to acknowledge some of our sponsors. We have the Knight Foundation, OHL, and the Batchelor Foundation, as well as the D Group Foundation. I also would like to welcome the Friends of the Book Fair. If you all can wave. Do we have any in the audience? Wonderful. And we encourage you to become one of the Friends of the Book Fair to continue the work. So Miami-Dade College offers extraordinary programs and activities for you to pursue your career. We have programs from everything from data analytics to fashion, hospitality, and journalism. So we do invite you to explore the opportunities. We have a recruitment booth that's across the street by Building 8. If you wanted to learn more information from them, we also encourage you to go to our website. That's www.mdc.edu to learn more about our programs. So at the end of the session, we are going to have a brief time for a Q&A, and Dr. Dyson will be downstairs as well to sign autographs after we end this session. So I ask you at this time if you can please silence your cell phones. And then it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Norwood. He's the founder and executive director of the Florida Association of Independent Schools, who will then do the introductions for Dr. Dyson.
Good afternoon. It gives me great honor, seriously great honor, to introduce this man. Dr. Dyson is a family friend, and we go back some time. As an author, he is amazing. He needs no introduction. His new book is a sermon, and most people don't know that he is an ordained minister. And in order to make this occasion relevant to Miami, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. Today is the birthday of a great theologian by the name of Howard Thurman. And Mr. Thurman went to Florida Memorial University, right here in Miami, Florida. He was sometimes called the mystic. But when I read parts of Mr. Dyson's book, it reminded me of that sense of duty and call to action. It's like a why we can't wait type of moment for this man. His book is broken up into chapters like a sermon. He's preaching to America. And I think that in the spirit of Howard Thurman, he's making that point. A man who many, many years ago started the first multiracial, multi-denominational church in San Francisco. I'm talking about Howard Thurman, the man who mentored Martin Luther King, that Howard Thurman. The man who became the first dean of a African-American dean of a school at Boston University. And I know that Mr. Dyson really cherishes the history of that man, and I hope that he will channel that energy as he speaks to us today. He is the university professor at Georgetown University, the prestigious Georgetown University with a prestigious professorship. He has written, I think, 19 or 20 books at this moment in time. You've seen him on TV, you've heard him on the radio, you've seen him rap to get his point across. I'm sure we'll hear a little bit of something of that, but he needs no introduction. Welcome Michael Eric Dyson to Miami, Florida, ladies and gentlemen.
I want to thank Provost Maloof for this, Vice Provost Maloof for this gracious hospitality to get us here, and to Brother Norwood, my dear and abiding friend, for that gracious and challenging introduction to live up to the heritage of the great Howard Thurman. What an honor it is to be here today, and to be here in Miami, where the weather is much better than where I live. And but to talk about important and critical issues to this nation, none more important than race in America right now. And if we cut right to the chase, we in a fix, as they say. We've got the prospect of an American society that is collapsing around difference and that seems allergic to the possibility that there are multiple streams of American identity. When the man who occupies the highest office in the land right now began to run, he pitched his saleability to the American populace, his appeal to their collective unconscious, with an act of dramatic and explicit xenophobia, speaking about Mexicans whose labor this country has exploited, Mexicans whose intelligence this nation has absorbed, and Mexicans whose work continues to be the lattice and indeed the platform upon which so much has been launched in the 20th century. And yet to hold out with old and hoary stereotypes about Mexicans and building a wall to keep them out, who gonna build it? And if you get them to build that wall, how long is it gonna last? The reality is we are living in a nation where race continues to rule, ruin, and restrict so much of what we see in this society. We thought we had been done long since with the extraordinary inelegance of vicious beliefs about the other. We thought we had made progress in an American society where the diversity of our society is its strength. Everybody ain't from Miami. Everybody ain't from Florida. Everybody ain't from these border states where the borders that were imposed were at the behest of a hegemonic imperial culture that determined politically what it would annex and take over in California, in Texas. So in one sense, you're already Mexican, you just readjusted your borders to try to figure out where you are. And in a city, I heard there were Latinos here, I'm not sure that's true, in Miami. Used to be Cuban dominant, now you got across the board. You got Colombia, you got Puerto Rico, you got, what else you got? El Salvadoran, Brazil, Venezuela, Dominica. I mean, in other words, you got the rainbow coalition of the Latino hemisphere, of the larger Hispanic identity. And these words are curious, aren't they? What we come up with to generate our understanding of what a population of people are. At the same time that this last election was said to be a referendum of white working class people. At the same time that this was said to be a judgment of the white working class against being distraught and being eviscerated and being removed, America saw a resurgence of identity politics, even as it said identity politics was old hat. The left and the right said the problem with this last election is you can't talk about women and gay people and queer folk and Latinos and black people and other minorities. You've got to talk about Americans. Now, forgive the solecism of the grammatically incorrect construction of saying identity politics is the bête noire, and you say white working class. Get the contradiction? The adjective modifying the noun, white working class. You didn't say working class. There are a lot of Latino and black and brown and other working class people, people from the Middle East, people from Central and South America who didn't vote the way that many white working class people voted. So the working class is not a unified amalgam of undifferentiated people, there are varieties and variations within working class. So the modifier white tells us that even when America says it's over with identity politics are always at the heart of who we are as a nation. The question is the white identity alone? When it was by itself, there was no need for identity politics because everything was white. Right? And the complications of internal divisions, even among Latinos, is to talk about whiteness functioning even within Latin culture and how race plays a difference even there. Color makes a difference even there. If Elian Gonzalez had been from Santiago de Cuba as opposed to Habana de Cuba, they'd have gave him a Snickers bar and said, take your ass home. I'm just passing through town. These are my thoughts. America is a broad diversity of differences. Not only did he insult Mexicans, he insulted Muslim brothers and sisters. Now, it's easy to prey on the fear, the xenophobia and the fear of terror in America. To say that, well, Islam represents a particularly unique scourge in this society. And then we point to the people who in the name of Allah have done horrible and evil things. Point taken, point conceded. But as the great philosopher James Brown said, howsoever, we did not learn about the collusion and convergence of religion and terror from Islam. In this country, crosses were burned on the lawns of people of color, especially black people. Last time I checked, there wasn't no crescent and sun and star. Last time I checked, that was a cross. Last time I checked, the cross is a signifier of Christianity. That's Christian terror in the name of reconstituting a vigorous conception of American identity that cleaned out the distorting elements of black and brown and red and yellow people. And so even when we talk about what's going on with terror here, I was on television debating Rudy Giuliani, and this was right before the decision was going to be handed down about whether Michael Brown's killer, the person who murdered him, the officer, would be held to account, and there would even be a grand jury. And Giuliani said, you don't need to be worried about police people killing African American people. That's a small segment. That's a small number, subsection of black people who are killed. He said, if you're going to deal with that, the killing of black people, you got to realize that the majority of black people are killed by other black people. Point taken. 93% of black people who are killed by other black people. But 84% of white folk who are killed by white folk. I don't hear nothing about no white-on-white crime. I don't hear people on TV, Jiminy Cricket, what are we going to do? We're going to hell in a handbasket. The whites are killing each other. It's white bread warfare. It's Civil War all over again, right? That doesn't even exist. And if we're going to take his logic that most people are killed black on black, which is a misnomer, people kill where they live. You want integrated killing, have integrated communities. But if most folk who were black died at the hands of black folk, then how many Americans have died at the hands of terrorists since 9/11? Versus how many white folk die every year from gun violence in Vegas, in Texas, and indeed across the world, thousands a year. It ain't Muhammad, it's Billy Bob. My point is, race is a complicated factor. The Mexicans, the Muslims, and this from one man, himself one of the most inveterately unenlightened human beings, one might imagine. Just proud to be unenlightened. Just proud to be unmolested by knowledge. Gets up every morning, ain't reading complicated, nuanced, interpretive analyses of prevailing conceptions of global disharmony, ain't deconstructing Derridian sentences that pile up in accumulated knowledge to challenge the hegemony of a empiricism rooted in American-centric thinking? No. Ain't even reading War and Peace. Ain't even reading Superman in the comic book. Watching Fox News, cable television. Standing each morning before a Twitter machine to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation he has turned into his psychic commode. If I had more time, I'd break that one down right there. And so here it is. And can we stop lying to each other? Here we are looking for multiple strands of explanatory knowledge. How can we explain the conundrum into which we have stumbled? Unanticipated. First of all, he got beat by 3 million votes, right? So when people overinterpret, oh my God, this means we have to reorganize the logic of American democracy, what we thought was the case, he lost, but then beat her because of the organization of the Electoral College, which was driven by a consideration of slave ownership. If you're going to do your studying, study hard. Google that. And so now the Electoral College, which is a specimen and a species in particular of virulent anti-blackness that is the predicate of American democracy, he won the election. So don't overinterpret what folk were doing, number one. Number two, when they say, well, black folks stayed at home, they weren't inspired, 54% of eligible white women voted for Trump. I don't know what world they living in. You got to grab them up president. And look at all these men out here now getting their comeuppance, ain't they? Jesus. See, and you hating on black and brown men, we ain't grabbing stuff. If you got skill, call it. Got to grab it. Trying to blame hip-hop culture, oh my God. Hip-hop not at its best. Don't blame Biggie Smalls. Some say the X makes the sex spectacular. Make me lick you from your neck to your back then. What wall you want to climb? My style is genuine. Let me hit that from behind. I mean, if it's all right with you tonight, we loving. That's seeking permission. That's asking for consent. That ain't grabbing it. That's summoning it. You mad because you ain't got no skill. Nothing better than engaging, if you happen to be a heterosexual, and even if not, with a woman who is your equal. That's real love. She got a job like you got. She make more money than you make. She runs her business. She is independent, autonomous, morally capable, and she chooses to love you. Ain't nothing hot like that. Sexism, misogyny, femophobia, just scared when a woman show up. Real women show up, you get nervous. And so, in this culture of rampant xenophobia, we see the resurgence, the recrudescence, the appeal again of a certain narrow nativism that is not America at its best. Now, you had Ku Klux Klan people back in the day, and now you got well-coiffed young white boys with tiki torches. They couldn't be racist. They're so handsome. Pretty is as pretty does. Richard Spencer is bringing a vile, vicious repudiation of what it means to be both an American and a citizen and a human being. If you are so insecure that you got to spend most of your time damning somebody who ain't like you don't really like yourself either. And not only do you not like yourself, you ain't sure about what you're saying. If you superior, let it be. If you LeBron and you the best, you play whoever. You come to Miami, you win a couple rings. You join with D. Wade and Haslam, and you do your thing. You don't say, hey, I want to keep the competition away. I don't want the Cleveland Cavaliers here. I don't want the Golden State Warriors. I just want to play the people I can beat. If you confident that you the best, play everybody. What is it about white supremacy that it undercuts its own belief in its superiority because it forces people to believe what it believes? If you that bad, let it win out. White supremacy is incompetent and incapable of acknowledging that the basis for its assertion was always rigged to begin with. Oh, the president is right. The elections be rigged, but not against who he think it is. You right here in Florida, you know about gerrymandering. You know about voter suppression. You know about elderly Jews getting railroaded and African-American and Latino people getting dogged. You know formerly incarcerated people being lied to about what their rights are, and then that becoming the basis for a governor trying to figure out what to do upon his election to the highest office in the state. Y'all know what this is. It ain't about Russia. What about those Diebold machines? What about those American machines? What about the machinery of voter suppression right here? I ain't worried about Vladimir. I'm worried about senators and congresspeople right here trying to warn us about the Mexicans or the Puerto Ricans or the Dominicans or the Cubans. It's the right-wing Republicans. And I ain't just jamming up the right. The left been pretty janky on some of this stuff too. I mean, I loved Obama in office. We miss him now. A person who can speak. Got more than 25 words. Sad. Bad. Bigly. See Dick run. I mean, no matter what you thought about Obama, God dang it, at least the man read books. He invited authors to the White House. And together they engaged in repartee and convivial conversation, edifying discourse about the matters of the day, where gerunds and dangling participles had their role to play. Now, the evisceration of grammatical correctness. We ain't worried about political correctness, just grammatical correctness, man. They got spell check, bruh. But Obama was in a tight position too. Obama did some tricky stuff when he was in office. He did amazing things, but when it came to race, he was in a tough position, and black people forgave him in advance. We knew it was going to be tough, because America says it won't talk about race, but it really don't. Ain't nobody trying to really talk about race. We'd rather talk about the races, right? At the track with the Greyhounds. We'd rather speak about the absence of nuclear warming, because it ain't real, according to the politicians in office now, many of them. And yet, when it came to race, we're in a tough bind. The first black president felt that he didn't want to be ghettoized. I understand that. But your not wanting to be ghettoized, your existential anxiety produced a political effect that had a negative consequence on the debate because your disinclination to engage race meant that the smartest guy on race in the room in politics wasn't talking about it. That's just like having Kobe Bryant as president, but he can't speak about basketball. I know y'all have heard of Kobe. He hurt you here in Miami. Oh, you haters out there. Sorry. And so you got Neil deGrasse Tyson up in the White House, but you can't speak astrophysics. You got Susan B. Anthony, but you can't talk feminism. You got Hillary Clinton, but she can't even tell the truth about the vicious sexism to which she was subjected. So Obama felt that he couldn't talk about it, but not only did he feel he couldn't talk about it, he went out of his way to criticize black people publicly. I know a lot of y'all missed that. When you ain't inside the group, you don't feel it the same way, right? When you ain't inside the family, you miss some of the references. So when he was going around talking like, that black people shouldn't feed their kids chicken in the morning, and Pookie, signifier, inside discourse in baseball about the average poor black person should go to their kids' schools and pay attention to them if they didn't have to work 3 jobs. You're right. He went to Morehouse College and he said, nobody's going to be sensitive to you complaining about racism when you got stuff you ain't earned. Slow down, son. You're talking to a graduating class of college. They ain't in a detention center, right? And when you went to Columbia and you spoke to Barnard College, you did not tell those predominantly white women, stop bitching about sexism because nobody wants to hear something that you are arguing about that you haven't earned. He would not dare speak to them that way. Now, he defended himself by saying, look, I grew up as a young black boy without his father. Does that give you the right? You ain't the first one. I think there's an entire genre of hip hop devoted to that. Fuck daddy who wasn't here. You got to listen to the songs. God forgive me for my brash delivery, but I remember vividly what these streets did to me. Remember Jay-Z said, now all my teachers couldn't reach me and my mama couldn't beat me hard enough to match the pain of my pop not seeing me? So with that disdain in my membrane and on my pimp game, fuck the world, my defense came. Mr. Obama, you ain't the first black man to grow up without a daddy. My daddy, when I was 3 months in the womb, went out for a pack of cigarettes. I ain't seen him since. So, sir, you don't have the right to impose the existential anxiety that you endured, undeniably traumatic, as the predicate for concentrated, intelligent public policy or statements derived philosophically from your own deficit of patriarchy. You can't do that now. You can't generalize that way. Yes, it was painful, but the black men that you want to be present, and they should be, when they are away from their families, they are the highest rated people of all ethnicities in America to spend time with their sons. That's what the science says. That's not the stereotype. So fathers who don't live with their kids who are black spend more times with their kids than any other race of fathers in America. But don't let the facts interrupt your interpretation. And just because you Obama don't mean you get a pass. When they jumped on Ben Carson for calling those slaves immigrants, guess who called them immigrants first? Barry. But our side doesn't want to see it. Now, if you're going to be fair, be fair. And I'm an Obama surrogate twice. I supported him twice. I knew him since '92. That don't mean I close my eyes. That don't mean because I love him and think he's the best that we should offer, because I think he's one of the most extraordinary presidents ever. But he's like Shaquille O'Neal, another guy who spent a little time here. I want to be relevant to my local audience. Shaq was one of the greatest of all time, but he couldn't shoot free throws, really. So when you go, that's what they call hacker Shaq. So when you tell the story, Shaq was one of the greatest. Yes, great Hall of Famer. Yes, one of the most amazing. Yes, shoot free throws. No. So Obama great. Yes, insightful. Yes, public policy. Yes, on race. No. Don't lie. I stood, or sat, I should say, in the VIP section right behind Sharpton on the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, where Obama blamed black people for the loss of racial comity and the derailing of racial conversation in America. And I saw this. I can't lie about it because he's my guy. That's what we hate about the Republicans. Roy Moore down there in Alabama, like he making an R. Kelly video. I'm the wrong one if you want me to lie. I ain't the one. I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind at the mall. But how are we going to distinguish Roy Moore from Thomas Jefferson? 14 years old, Sally Hemings. Rape culture is one of the litmus tests for the virility of white masculinity in America. I know y'all ain't ready for that. No, y'all ain't ready. The unrapeability of black women is too. Because they were just having sex with people they owned. They weren't even people. They were 3/5 human. So when you think about the fact that we're living in a culture where women's lives have never mattered. Oh, we pretend that we're concerned about them, and oh my God, and how dare you do this? All of us are part of that hypocrisy of male supremacy. And until we challenge it at its roots, we are being disingenuous. And so when I look at what's going on in terms of race, Obama was a great, great man, but on the issue of race, he was complicated. Now, I wish I could have been his anger interpreter. I just wish I could have been up on stage doing. I'm a nice guy. I have my credentials. I got a PhD from Princeton. I'm articulate. Read a bunch of books and wrote some too. Obama comes out. I wish he'd have come out of the White House in a skull cap sometime, with a terry cloth robe on, with some of those Magic Johnson socks. What? Yeah, I'm living in public housing. Yeah. I wish when Obama was giving the last State of the Union, I remember that? The penultimate one, where he said, I don't have no more races to run. Now, he said it better than that. I have no more races to run. The Republicans started clapping. Yeah, they were laughing. He says, that's because I beat you twice. Now, I wanted to give it a little bit more brother spin. See what I'm saying? Look, bitch, what you want? I beat your ass twice. Ain't no more races to run, because if there was one, I'd beat your ass again. My time is almost up, I can see. But I'll say this. When we think about race in America, it's complicated, it's powerful, it's significant. We got to do three things. First, we got to face it. We can no longer live in what Gore Vidal calls the United States of amnesia. We got to revoke our citizenship in the United States of amnesia and claim memory. White folk who say the Civil War was about states' rights. Get off the crack. I know you're opioid addicted. Because when black and brown people were on crack, you sent us to prison. You sending your kids to the hospital. I'm not mad. I want your kids to go to the hospital. I want my kids in the hospital too. You giving us mandatory minimum on a drug crime where there were nonviolent drug crimes. White kids who are opioid addicted and others are treated sensitively. So we got to face it, number one. Number two, we got to acknowledge that there can be difference without hierarchy. What do I mean by that? Everybody ain't got to be the same. Right? People want me, I can't, you want me to, because I got a PhD from Princeton, you want me to act a certain way, and I can't, I've majored in blackness all my life. It's too late to change my major now. Just deal with it. When people say, I don't see race, are you blind? I know, and I know it's tough to be white. Like Jiminy Cricket, what do? We see race too much, they dog us. If we don't see it, they kill us. What the fuck do you want? It's tough, I get it. Black people mercurial, sometimes we good, what? Here's the point, we don't want you to transcend race, I just want you to transcend what you think about my race. That's what I want you to transcend. I don't want to stop being black, I want you to stop thinking what blackness is limited. And just let us be human beings like y'all. Black folk like everybody else. Few geniuses, mostly average, and some assholes. That's just everybody. And finally, let me say this before I close out, as the provost lingers near. The vice provost putting pressure on me over here. She ain't standing for exercise. I was about to go into another 40-minute clip. Let me say this. All of us together got to face what has been called intersectionality. Just a big old word to say that means it's more complicated, because when you talk about being black, you got to talk about being black and poor, or black and a female, or black and queer, right? Or brown and female, brown and queer, right? Or Pan-Asian, Pan-Pacific, Pacific Rim, First Nation, indigenous. But there are differences. Do you live on the reservation, as they called it, or not? Do you live on native ground or not? It makes a difference. And those differences make a difference. And I got to warn people of color and other minorities, don't be the same bigots that you contend against. Can I just say that? You know how they say, you are the future you want? Don't be the bigot you hate. How you going to go to a black church and be homophobic? Well, the word said. What the word said what? The word said, slave, obey your master. You ain't doing that. Word say, cut off if your right eye offend thee, pluck it out. You still got both eyes. I ain't never been to a black church that turns down gay tithes. Huh? Mad at gay people. How you taking the bigotry of a dominant culture and its vicious beliefs about people who are queer, and you mad at what they do to you based on the Bible as a black person? Same thing for women. I was preaching in Cleveland a couple weeks ago. You see what kind of preacher I am. I'm almost done, bro. Let me tell this one more story. She lurking. She got to keep it on schedule. So I'm going to tell this one more story, and I'm going to be done for the next 10 minutes. So I'm preaching in Cleveland, and she came up to me. I'm doing a book signing. She said, I plead the blood of Jesus on you. I said, damn, that's old school. Pentecostal. She said, you're going to hell. I said, did Jesus tell you this? I might as well go out here and live a great and fantastic irresolute life. Irresolute life. She said, no, you're going to hell because are you telling me that God made gay people the way they are? I said, unless you're trying to say God made a mistake. And that's a big theological problem. If you think God messed up. I don't think God messed up. Well, do you think they're born that way? I said, as far as I know, I ain't been there. But I don't think gay people can get up tomorrow morning and be straight anymore. You can be gay. And if you can, I done helped you out. Try it. You might like it. Right? Get behind that subject. I'm almost done. So hold on. I'm a preacher, man. I got to almost be done 20 minutes. Hold on. And then, you know, black people say, well, you chose to be gay. Did you choose to be straight? What, you went to your mom at 13? Hey, look, I've been looking at both the options. And I'm choosing this because that other one is a real pain in the ass. Y'all ain't ready? Y'all ain't ready? So let me in. So she told me, she said, you going to hell. I said, wait a minute, you're a woman. I'm a man of God. You have no authority over me. The Bible says, shut up. So be quiet. Stop it. We in this boat together. If they hate the queer people first, they gonna hate your black ass next. Then your brown ass. Then your poor white ass. Right? Then your moderate Republican ass. That's what Republicans are doing now. My God, didn't know it was this tough up in here. We feel opposed. Yeah. Trump is treating America like black people been treated by most white folk forever. Y'all ain't ready to hear that. This ain't nothing new to black people, right? Oh my God, it's the worst ever. No, it ain't. It really ain't. But now you've been treated like a nigga too. Let's shift metaphors. All the men are getting treated like bitches too. Stop it. We are in this boat together. And if we come together as a nation, we are stronger together than we are apart. God bless y'all so very much.
I know, I feel really bad for stopping him. I could listen for hours on. So we have time for just one question. So one, that's it.
Oh my God.
One question, right, sir? Because there's another author at 3 o'clock and we have to clear out the room and let others come in. That's why.
Who the other author? No, okay, I'm sorry. No. Maybe we should just go. I don't want to. That's because I can't choose.
Right here.
Okay, you choose. All right. Oh, damn. I was trying to get out of here. Okay, I don't want to be catty, but let me tell you this story. It's only going to take a half hour. Hold on. No. It's going to take 1 minute. So remember when Bill Maher used the N-word? Y'all know I was on, right? Al Franken was supposed to go on the show. But Al Franken said no, two things. First of all, I disagree with what Bill said. It's horrible, it's wrong, blah, 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 which, okay, true. And then he said, I didn't want to endure an entire week of being drugged through the mud and my name taken in vain because I chose to go on. So he said, I think Professor Dyson from Georgetown is. Thanks, Al. And he's right. I got drugged through the mud. Black people like, you dog, you stupid, you thought you were for the people, you going on with this white boy and blah, blah, blah. Then I got on there, then they had to change mine because I don't treat all white allies the same. Bill Maher is not the Ku Klux Klan. Hello? If he made a mistake, and he did, and he admitted it. And then I went there, and instead of the usual 7 to 8 minute opening, he gave me 15 minutes. That white man gave up time on national television. That ain't exactly 40 acres and a mule, but that's some damn reparations right there. That's some chronological reparations right there. And I sold a bunch of damn books after that. But what's interesting, oh, hey. But on top of that, if Tina Fey says, let him eat cake after Charlottesville, and she said some brilliant stuff before then, and she messed up by trivializing it, don't treat Tina Fey like she's the KKK. Now, first of all, Al Franken, that's what you get for putting me on and you dogging me and you didn't go on Bill Maher. Ha! No. But beyond that, we have to make gradations. Al Franken admitted what he did was wrong. He acknowledged that it was problematic, grabbing that woman's breast the way he did, no excuse. And don't make any. And if he gets investigated by the Senate committee and they put him out, that's the consequence of what he did. Now, we know we living in tough times, but tough times demand tougher perspectives. Yes, we've been getting away with this shit with women for too many years. Now, there are going to be some sacrifice. Let's be real. There are some people who probably in reality don't really deserve to go like others do, but that's part of the nature of course correction, right? That's just the nature of the deal. I hope Al Franken hangs on because at least he acknowledges what he did. He said, investigate me. What I did was reprehensible. I claim to speak for women, but here I am then undercutting them. Donald Trump jumping in on the game, but ain't said nothing about his grab ass. And ain't said nothing about Roy Moore. Vicious, predatory, white supremacist, patriarchal behavior. At least Al Franken acknowledges, yes, I engaged in that, but I'm man enough to admit it was wrong, and I'll deal with the consequences should they be judged not in my favor. So I applaud him, but I applaud more the women who come forward to say enough is enough.
So if we could give one more round for Dr. Carson.